Welcome to Young Adult Book Talk. My name is Mary Staley and I'll be your host. Today's episode theme is Characters That Grew Up in Isolation. I'll be discussing 3 books that I recommend. First is Prince Award title We Are Okay by Nina LaCour. Next we have The Car by the Margaret Edwards award-winning author Gary Paulson. And finally, The Agony of Bun OKeefe by Heather Smith, which was on the YALSA Best Fiction for Young Adults 2019 list. So, here we go. Let's talk.
Are you ready?
Three.
When you realize your life was one big lie. Coming in at number 3 on my list is We Are Okay by Nina LaCour. We find the main character Marin in New York at college at the start of winter break. Everyone else leaving to spend time with family. Marin has none. She is alone in this world. She's going to spend the break in her dorm room all alone. She makes lists to try to make sure her time is filled so she doesn't give into the idea of just crawling into her bed and spending the whole winter break under her blanket. There is something wrong with Marin. She's trying to cope with the fact that basically her whole life was a lie. Growing up in San Francisco, her mother commits suicide when Marin is 3. A lot of people know her mother because she was an avid surfer. Every time she could go to the beach, she would see someone that knew her mother, that could tell her a story about her mother. Anything, any information. There was no other family except her grandfather to raise her. Problem was, he had never gotten over his daughter's death. So Marin has the front of the house, the grandfather has the back of the house, and they come together in the kitchen table for meals. And that's basically all. She stays out of his space, he stays out of her space. They never ever talk about her mom, so she doesn't know much about her. They never talk much, period. She does know that he has a pen pal named Birdie that makes him really happy. When she starts to notice blood on the tissue when he coughs, she knows something bad is going on. And then he leaves one day and disappears. People say they saw him at the beach walking in the water, so the speculation is that he killed himself, drowning himself in the ocean, which was the one place that was a home to her mother. Her life falls apart when she finally ventures into her grandfather's bedroom and makes a discovery that changes her life forever. And then there is her friend Mabel, who was a friend, then a girlfriend, then back to a friend. She stopped talking to Mabel and everyone after the discovery in her grandfather's room, but now Mabel was coming to spend 3 whole days with her at school over winter break. Can she do this? What was the big discovery in her grandfather's room? What happened when Mabel came to visit? Will Marin be okay? Read We Are Okay by Nina LaCour to find out. When your mom tells you to get out, you go. At number 2 is The Agony of Bun OKeefe by Heather Smith. Bun is a 14-year-old girl in Newfoundland, Canada. She lives with her overweight hoarder mother alone. Her dad left when she was 5 years old. Mother pulled her out of kindergarten and she hasn't returned to school, getting her education from watching documentaries on a half-broke TV and reading lots of books, including the dictionary. Mom completely ignores her except for the times that she is putting her down. When Mom is not out bringing home junk, she is sitting in her chair eating fast food and junk food, leaving Bun to fend for herself. The hoarding is so bad that there is only a path that goes through the house. One day a kitten came home with some junk, but it was killed when a stack collapsed and crushed it. Well, one day Mom told her to get out, so Bun did, leaving home, hitchhiking to the city. Malnourished, coughing, she has asthma from being raised with all the junk, and no money, she comes across a man playing a guitar on the sidewalk for money. She names him Busker Boy. He takes her in, and he and all of his roommates, a medical student dropout transvestite, a Catholic girl running away because her mom wants her to join the convent, and a depressed chef and Busker Boy. Now here is a 14-year-old girl that is anemic, with asthma, wearing glasses meant for a 5-year-old child on her face, and no money to her name, but they take her in, protect her, and support her. She's like no one they ever met, very literal with words and saying what she thinks. They have one word of advice for her: stay away from Dragon Man that lives in the attic, the landlord. A tragic event with the roommate, then her mother's death in the newspaper, then a trip up to the attic with Dragon Man, a fight, and an escape all bring Bun back to her junk-filled house, where her dad appears back on the scene. What happened with the roommate? What happened in the attic with Dragon Man? Will her life change now that Dad has reappeared? And will she ever find a family that loves her? Read The Agony of Bun OKeefe by Heather Smith to find out. My parents left home and totally forgot about me. At the top of my list at number 1 of characters that grew up in isolation is The Car by Gary Paulson. Larry is a 14-year-old boy, an only child whose parents completely forgot about him. The parents were so self-absorbed that they ignored and even forgot about him completely. After a huge fight, Dad said he couldn't take it anymore and left. Mom said she couldn't take it anymore and left. That left Larry home alone, forgotten. He has a little bit of money saved, so when the food starts to run out, he goes and gets some food. But when the bills start coming in overdue, he knows his time is running out. His father has a kit car in the garage. If you don't know what a kit car is, it is basically a full-size model of a car, but once you put it together, it's an actual car. Larry is good at working with his hands, so he follows the instructions and puts together the car. Problem is, he's 14 years old, no driver's license, and doesn't really even know how to drive. He figures he will learn as he goes. What could go wrong? He decides that he will drive to Oregon to an uncle's house that he has only met one time in his life. Now, he lives in Ohio and is going to drive to Oregon in a car that he put together without really knowing how to drive. What could go wrong? This car is a convertible, and as he starts out his trip, without Google Maps, by the way, because the setting is in the 1980s, there is a huge rainstorm. He pulls over and gets a tarp to cover himself in the interior and wait out the storm, but this man jumps into the passenger seat of his car. Waylon is a Vietnam vet with a troubled past. You see, at one time Waylon was a trained assassin. He convinces Larry to take him along. What could go wrong? They meet up with Waylon's friend Wayne. All three set off trucking, which means traveling where the road and desire takes you. Larry and Waylon in the car, Wayne on his motorcycle, each stop giving Larry a huge lesson in life. Will Larry's parents finally think of him and find him? Will he make it to Oregon to his uncle's? Or will he stay with Waylon and Wayne? Where will he find a place that he truly belongs? Read The Car by Gary Paulson to find out. And there you have it. Characters raised in isolation. Living with an uninvolved grandfather discovering a huge lie in Nina LaCour's We Are Okay. Educating and fending for yourself in a home filled with junk in Heather Smith's The Agony of Bun OKeefe. And parents leaving home forgetting about you in Gary Paulson's The Car. Did all of the characters end up being okay? Read and find out.